This is your home for St. Cloud State hockey, keeping you up to date on the NCHC.
One-timer coming, they score! Ripped in! A bomb from Pervix!
Women's WCHA.
So Dana Rasmussen fires and she scores! Dana Rasmussen for the Huskies alongside
The National Hockey League.
Capris in for a chance to win it! He scores! Karil, the thrill is for real! Welcome to the NHL, a game winner!
And everything from the state of hockey.
St. Cloud Cathedral is now 42.6 seconds away from wrapping up the school's first ever title.
Welcome to the Huskies Warming House Podcast Den. And welcome into episode number 75 here on the Huskies Warming House Podcast. I'm Noah Grant, joined alongside my co-host Nick Maxon, fresh off of 10,000 audio views or listens. Would they be views or listens? I think they're listens. How do we get to 10,000, Nick? That's the better question.
I think you said audio download, so it sounds like listens would be the correct verb.
Yeah, whatever it is. Anyway, we hit a number, and we're also on episode number 75. So we're chugging along here, August 22nd, 2021. Excited to bring you some more content here as we approach further and further into not only the start of the NHL season, but also the college hockey season. But we're going to focus on the NHL today. We're going to talk a little bit about that development process. We're also going to talk about the Karil Capris situation as we're kind of in that final week, quote unquote, if you will, before that contract supposedly is going to come to a head. And we're also going to talk about the situation in Arizona, new news coming out of their camp and the city of Glendale regarding some arena plans related to the Coyotes as well. You won't want to miss it. And we're going to start off with a very abbreviated Center Ice View news and notes and the Huskies Illustrated weekly roundup. Center Ice View news and notes. Center Ice View provides you with the best coverage of St. Cloud State Huskies hockey from game notes, recaps, photos, and more. Go to centericeview.com.
A couple of topics here, again, as you mentioned, for the Huskies Illustrated Weekly Roundup. First of all, some sad news out of the Eastern Conference, and it's definitely news that we talked about it before and whether or not this player would ever return to action. And we're talking about Henrik Lundqvist, the King. And unfortunately, I remember having this discussion after he had open heart surgery, Noah, and I had predicted that, unfortunately, that I did think that this was going to be the last time we ever saw him suit up in an NHL jersey. And unfortunately, that's one of those predictions you hope to be wrong. And unfortunately, it is Henrik Lundqvist calling it a career after 15 years in NHL seasons. Basically, out with the New York Rangers. No, he did sign with the Washington Capitals last year, but of course, he never actually played in a game due to the inflammation in his heart, which resulted in open heart surgery. 39 years old, five-time Vezina nominee, although he never won one. He won one in 2012. Yeah. I apologize. I think he should have won more because just his numbers, his career is just unbelievable. One Stanley Cup final appearance in 2014, also a silver medal in the Olympics, gold in 2006, a silver coming in also in 2014. Lundqvist does finish sixth all time as the winningest goaltender in the National Hockey League with 459 career wins to his belt. Tough to really see this. No, it really is because as great of a player as Lundqvist was on the ice, I think he is probably, if not, if there's a job out there in the NHL for him, maybe brand ambassador. He was an incredible ambassador for the game of hockey and to the city of New York. Honestly, he just, and I'm going to say this kind of, off the cuff here a little bit, but just an unbelievable human being. Just what he did for that community. So it really is sad to see his career come to an end in the way kind of that it did.
Yeah. And also, the other thing too, is I think that, part of the reason he's not playing too, is he was hoping that after a year of that open heart surgery, he was going to get that medical clearance and didn't really get it. I think if he gets that medical clearance, I think he has one more kick at the can before he's finally done. But unfortunately, a five-time All-Star and a fantastic career, never won a Stanley Cup, but, had that Cup final appearance in 2014. And there was a guy that, we talk a lot about guys that don't win a cup, but maybe should still be in the Hall of Fame. There's a guy that I think is a really good case.
I think he's absolutely a Hall of Famer. Roberta Lewangel, I think, had a pretty cool social media shout out after that. He actually tweeted at Henrik Lundqvist, start a podcast, 2 goats, no cup. I think that was pretty funny there from Lewangel. Always good for those takes. But and from what we understand too, what's being reported is during his attempt to come back was that he was experiencing chest pains as the workouts continue to get more intense. And unfortunately, your body sometimes does tell you, Noah, that maybe this is a little bit too much. So again, congratulations to who I would believe would be a future Hall of Famer, Henrik Lundqvist, on a fantastic career, and certainly on my book, a first ballot Hall of Famer there for the former, now New York Rangers goaltender. Speaking of retirement news, this is a different one. We're talking not on the ice, but behind the microphone. Rick Jeanneret, who has been the longtime television voice of the Buffalo Sabres, announced that he will be officially retiring after the conclusion of the 2021-22 season. I think the most famous call that people will know him for is his Mayday call for Buffalo back. I believe that was the 80s that call was made. Joined them in the radio in 1971, 51 years. As a broadcaster in the NHL, that's a hell of a career, number one, but that's lucky too, to have that history, to have that tenure with an NHL franchise, just a golden voice, a very distinctive voice. Just unbelievable. And there has been mullings that he was closer to the retirement day here, Noah, but now officially announced this will be his last. He's 79 years old. So you talk about 51 years, started when he was 28 years old. He was actually inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame back in 2012. So already shown that he will be part of hockey immortality here, even before he hangs up the microphone for the last time.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Longest tenured play-by-play voice for a single team in NHL history. He's been there every year besides the inaugural season of the Buffalo Sabres, which is unbelievable to think about. And started on the radio, made his way to TV, and has done a fantastic job. The other call that he was also a part of that isn't so enticing, if you will, but another one that he was famously on the broadcast for would have been the Clint Malarchuk situation in 1989 too. Would have been the voice behind that one as well. Moving into a little bit more of international news, Nick, quickly here. The Women's World Hockey Championship got underway in Calgary a couple days ago. This past Friday, in fact, the U.S. and Canada both winning their first games. Germany, Czech Republic, and Russia, the Olympic Committee, earning their victories in the first days. Of course, we're going to track that tournament as it gets rolling through the upcoming weeks. The medal round starts August 28th, with each team playing 4 games before then. St. Cloud State women's hockey has a couple of current and former players in that tournament as well. Junior Klara Himlarova for the Czech Republic. She had an assist the other day. Laura Kluge, I believe, was +3 in the win for Germany the other day. And Nina Newland, unfortunately, was held off the score sheet against a really good Canada team that played some really, really good hockey there. Nick, I know you got a chance to kind of take in some of those. Any highlights that kind of stuck out to you for the St. Cloud women's team?
For Laura Kluge, again, now former one, again, that Germany team is good. Yeah, they spoiled, was it Hungary's kind of indoctrination into the women's worlds? That's a tough first round. And, you talk about Germany, not just with the women's side, the men's side, they're starting to make some strides in the hockey world. Yes. And actually it's great. You talk about growing the game. This is where, these countries such as Germany, even the women's side here too, they're starting to get some talent. They're starting to roll and get just, better and more competitive against, your Finlands, your US, your Canadas. Obviously Hungary, not on the same level as there, but, some confidence there. And again, I've always been impressed with Laura Kluge's game. Just does everything with speed. She's got great vision and just knows where to find the open ice too, especially with a puck on her. So she could be kind of a controls the game when she's got the puck in her possession. So great game so far. Too bad for Finland. They actually were leading Team Canada in that hockey game. And then Canada, again, just has that extra gear where they can just kind of storm back, late in the games. That's what they did against Finland. But no doubt Finland will have an opportunity to respond here, as they're also a very deep hockey team there as well.
Obviously, watching all 3 of our St. Cloud State Huskies in that tournament. Also, the big one before we hit the medal round, I believe it's August 26th. The U.S. and Canada will face off against each other before we hit that medal round matchup. So that'll be a good one as well. Moving back into the NHL, as we kind of mentioned previously, Arizona was told by the city of Glendale that they will need to find a new home after this season. The city announced that it will not renew the operating agreement for Gila River Arena, which is owned by the city of Glendale. The agreement was on a year-by-year basis. And like we said, that's going to be the topic of our extra ice session later in the show. So we're not going to dive into that one too much there, Mr. Maxon.
No, but we'll definitely have plenty to talk about in that one. Is that, it seems like this is more of, the icing on the cake for what has been brewing for some time. But as you wrap up a couple of things here, a couple of signings here, and a couple of other different hockey related news as well. But first, let's go to the Western Hockey League up above the Canadian board and the CHL. They are mandating that all players, staff, and league personnel to be vaccinated ahead of the season. Similar protocols have also already been in place in the OHL and the QMJHL. Again, all these are under the umbrella of the CHL, all junior programs. So for them, Noah, taking a hard stance, and we're starting to see that not just with hockey, but some other things where, they're taking the hard stance, and, especially with pro sports. And, we'll talk a little bit more about this with Arizona too, just the money that people have lost just because a lot of these the pro sports venues or even junior leagues, a lot of the revenue is on ticket sales. And, a lot of these smaller things, they just can't absorb another season of losses of revenue like this. And so they're really just trying to make sure that not only that, I think also there's MTS Center in Winnipeg is requiring either a negative COVID test or a proof of vaccination for as a fan to be allowed in the stands. It sounds like they're going to have full capacity there up in Winnipeg. I've heard rumblings of other NHL venues looking at similar things. So I think this is a trend we're going to see continue forward, even in the pro system. So some things procedural wise happening above in Canada. Also, how about this? The NHL will be adding a jersey patch. Yes, the jersey patch. And no, hockey fans, we're not going to have, the European, racetrack logo jersey just yet. It's going to be small, 3 by 3.5 inch rectangle. It's going to be the size. To me, the NBA is already doing this. It's a small patch they put over the left chest there. I think as long as it stays like that, it's going to be fine. But again, for those who want to, go against this, those helmet patches we saw this year earned like $50 million. So, I mean, it's a moneymaker. And at the end of the day, when the NHL has got a little bit of red ink to it, anytime that you can generate some revenue without really having to do much other than sell some ad space, I think, as the quicker the NHL gets out of its current financial situation, I think it's a good thing. And I don't really think they're going to see a domino effect as we've seen, or at least fans think it will go to. I really don't see that.
Yeah. Finally, of course, it's one of those things too that also doesn't take effect until after this season. And I mean,
Correct.
it gives an opportunity. I mean, you never know. For like the Minnesota Wild, you could see them having a local brand or something that's fitting of Minnesota, like Caribou Coffee or something like that, where it's almost like, hey, that doesn't look so bad on a jersey. And, between that and maybe one helmet advertisement, we're really not getting too crazy, but that's just my take on it. So
exactly. So, and again, for me, I understand it. And for me, I actually welcome this because, again, the quicker we get the NHL back to where we were, that's when the salary cap can increase. And that's where, unfortunately, Minnesota needs some help on their salary cap issues here for the next couple of years. But I digress from that situation.
Yeah.
Speaking of salary cap, though, in the Minnesota Wild, they did avoid arbitration, even though it was in that 48-hour window. Kevin Fiala and the club actually agreed to a one-year deal, $5.1 million on the restricted free agent. Interesting, Noah, that he took the restricted free agency route. He had an opportunity to choose between 1 and 2 years. He chose the one-year deal, so it goes him back into an RFA status with arbitration rights next year, and now 2 years where he would walk himself into unrestricted free agency. So that was kind of odd for me. And to me, I think, honestly, this is, if you're Kevin Fiala, this is a contract that's going to make you really want to motivate yourself for next year, because now he'll be.
Can you write the words "prove me" contract in capital letters?
Yeah, holy heck! So, and I think you're going to see a very motivated Kevin Fiala. Not that he has never been on the ice, but oh man, I was predicting. I think you were predicting closer to $7 million. I thought he was going to come into 6.5. This is well under what many believe would be his market value. But also, for the Wild's perspective, this is great money savings, at least for this year, because again, we're still waiting on the Kaprizov resolution, where again, we're touching that a little bit later. Nashville also avoided arbitration with netminder Saros. He inked a 4-year contract, $20 million in the total deal. Philadelphia also avoiding arbitration in a 2-year pact, $9.5 million for Travis Sanheim, good young defenseman out there in the city of brotherly love. How about Calgary? The added defenseman Nikita Zadorov, and they then inked him to a 1-year deal. UC Valimaki also to a 2-year deal on the blue line. And then in Detroit, Adam Ern got a 2-year deal. And as they also bought out the last year of Franz Nielsen's 6-year contract from his time beforehand, Nielsen is 37 years of age, and no question a shell of once a very speedy and very good offensive player. He's looking for a new home as well. Finally, Buffalo got some bad news yet again. Owen Power, as was expected, is rejoining Michigan officially. He announced on his Instagram for his second season. And oh boy, I know we're St. Cloud State podcast here, Noel, but Michigan, you talk about just on paper, the talent level, they're going to be quite the team to watch for. They're the consensus number one in the pre-draft ranking, just ahead of St. Cloud State at number 2. And as we've seen before, Noah, St. Cloud fans know this, just because you're the most talented team and you're the number 1 team doesn't guarantee your spot in anything. Hashtag AIC. But anyway, there's plenty of other stuff we need to get to. But seriously, though, there's no question this Michigan team may go on as the most talented, but they may also go down as possibly the most talented team that maybe had an early exit. We've seen this happen in the college ranks. I mean, you talk about March Madness in college basketball. A lot of number 1 seeds go down in the first or second round. These things happen. So Michigan, you talk about pressure, right? But we're going to have to touch a little bit on this here or later in the show. Does Michigan, how are they going to handle this pressure? So, great team. It's going to be fun to watch there in the Big Ten, but there's going to be a lot of proving to do as the Wolverines head into this year of college hockey.
Once again, welcome into episode number 75 here. Noah Grant joined alongside my co-host Nick Maxon. Nick, we got a lot to talk about. You were talking about college hockey in the last segment, and I don't know, it gets me excited. We're getting closer and closer to hockey. And like you mentioned, you talk about how good is Michigan going to be this year? Is it going to be the question mark of the young, NHL draft pick late in roster? Or is it going to be the veteran experience of a team like St. Cloud that's able to take the cake? Or is there somebody out of nowhere that's going to be an NCAA Division I ice hockey champion at the end of the season? We hope it's
North Dakota hasn't entered the chat, so
we don't talk about them anyway. But before I get your take on how your week has gone, Nick, I'm kind of glad that you mentioned North Dakota. They're actually part of our trivia question. So before I ask you how you're doing, let's jump right into trivia. We did have a question this week, as always, season 2 of trivia. We had a first-time winner for the first time in about 16 weeks. The Rabid 1-3, Chris Backer, was our winner. The question did read: St. Cloud State men's hockey has old WCHA foes Minnesota, North Dakota, Mankato, and Wisconsin this season. Out of these, which opponent is the only one that St. Cloud State has swept, not tied, swept in a season, playing that opponent at least 4 times in a year? And what season was it? I don't expect you to get the season, but who is, out of those 4, who is the only opponent that St. Cloud State has swept in a given season? Minnesota, North Dakota, Mankato, Wisconsin.
Oh my. Is it Mankato?
It is Mankato. Yeah. Congratulations. St. Cloud State swept Mankato last in 2001, 2002 with 4 games, all in the fall of 2001. The men's team outscored the Mavericks 22-3.
Oh,
that season. Yeah. Not bad.
Just one-sided a little bit, I see.
Not bad. For seasons with less than 4 games, St. Cloud State has swept Minnesota 3 times and Wisconsin 1 time. So obviously, it's seasons where they only play 2 games in a given season. But when you're talking about the Mavericks, our biggest win against Mankato, hashtag Nolan Walker. Anyway, moving on from that one, isn't that interesting? I was looking through, obviously we are a St. Cloud State podcast, but if you look at our success rate against a team like North Dakota, for example, North Dakota has had our number, going through here. So a little bit of motivation for this Huskies team moving into the year. I think this is the year where the Huskies have a chance at maybe changing some things related to this trivia question. But nonetheless, speaking of changes, Mr. Maxim, what is up in your world this week?
Fall semester starts tomorrow.
Ugh, gross. I know.
Oh gosh. Isn't that insane? And it's weird. It's a weird one this time around. It's the last fall semester I'll have, hopefully. So, but it feels good.
Do you have any wood next to you? You're in trouble now.
Yeah, I've got something. Oh crap. But no, that's really it. Gearing up for a big hockey season again. St. Cloud coming out in the preseason number 2. So, I don't take a lot of stock in those preseason rankings.
Come on, Nick, they're everything, man.
I know, but we're getting closer to both college hockey and the NHL season. So we're getting closer to September. The Minnesota State Fair starts this Thursday for those who go to that. Absolutely.
Never heard of it.
Stop. I know nobody has, so it's fine. It's flyover country. So anyway.
Yeah.
But so a couple of things, going on, but beyond that, just trying to gear up again for a very busy fall here coming up for me as we get ready to open up the job search for myself, which is weird. I've already kind of started to put some feelers out there again in this neck of the job industry being sports. You just have to start early. So I've already gotten some feelers out there. We'll be definitely ramping that up here as we go through fall, and no question going into the spring. So it's going to be a very, very busy fall, and it pretty much kicks off tomorrow.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the sports broadcasting world, super laid back. If you want to call games with the Tampa Bay Lightning, you just call them. They'll hire you. I mean, easy peasy, right? I mean, that's just how it works. Yeah, that's a very nonchalant.
I think that's how it goes, right?
I think bagging groceries is probably more intense of a job hiring than that, right?
Yeah, I think there's a very, a 2-part process. I got to do a background check, take your fingerprints. Yeah.
Yeah. As long as you have an ID, you're hired. Anyway,
exactly.
Nonetheless, wishing you the best of luck in that, Nick, as I am privy to a little bit more of what's going on behind the scenes, and hopefully your opportunities pan out. But nonetheless, as we move into, like you mentioned, I start school this week as well too. I'm going to get a root canal in about a month with that tooth that I knocked out. Have to get that one done. I have to wait a month. So anything that when I eat ice cream or anything like that, I'm aware that I'm eating ice cream, very much so. Yeah. But you know what? I think about it, a month, what's a month in the end? You tough it out for a month to get it done. And the root canal is the part that's going to be the most helpful, when it comes to that sort of thing. It just costs a chunk of change. But nonetheless, we're going to make it. We're going to be okay. It's a little bit of a pressure situation, as one would say. Nick, you alluded to that as well. So why don't we move into our next topic? We've got 2 topics here in the main portion of the show. And it's we're going to start off today with one that is a little bit social media inspired and a little bit of personal inspired. For those who didn't know the story, for myself, I got a chance to, I had an offer to go to the Bismarck Bobcats main camp all those years ago in the NAHL. And I have a friend whose brother I actually graduated with and played with. He is getting ready for the same camp, actually. And he was telling me, I think it's 30 players that they're bringing into the camp. It's the final main camp, and they take 25. So he said there's 15 forwards and they take 13. So he's got to beat out 2 forwards. And it also goes back to some pieces I see on social media, as we go through the contract talks, Kevin Fiala, Kaprizov, Zach Parise, football players, you name it, whoever it is, and talking about kind of the pressure of what it means to be an athlete. What does it mean to get paid, hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars to do this job? They've got everything in the world. What do they have to complain about? They should just, they're elite athletes. They should just do what they've got to do. Nick, I guess kind of to start off this discussion and how to posit it, I asked this particular player, he said, I'm a forward. They're taking 13 forwards. There's 15 at camp. I got to beat out 2 guys. I said, oh, okay. I said, are you nervous? He goes, yeah. He goes, I'm really nervous, because he's like, you never know. You never know what kind of camp you're going to have. You never know, I might be the worst forward there and I don't know it yet. Those sorts of things like that. And talking about, that's a little bit of internal pressure, a little bit of the unknown, knowing what the NAHL brings. And as you move up into, the USHL, Division I, throw Division III in there, AHL, ECHL, NHL, playing in Europe. As you climb the rungs on the ladder, your window gets smaller and smaller. And in theory, the pressure on yourself, unless you're Connor McDavid or Sidney Crosby, and even for those guys, the pressure, gets bigger and bigger. So in your mind, Nick, I guess I'm just going to throw the floor to you. For pressure situations, what does the casual fan kind of need to take away when they look at a guy who's a 4th line guy and they say, oh, this guy sucks, this guy, Victor Rask, let's throw Victor Rask as a prime example of a guy that maybe had a little bit of pressure on him last season. What does Victor Rask likely feel that goes beyond the $4.5 million and 20 some points that he had this year?
So let's first define what pressure really is, right? So I think what we need to take the casual fan through is, first of all, nothing. Honestly, nothing.
And, all right, that's our show. That's our show for today.
Yeah, but seriously. So there's nothing there's the idea of pressure, then there's actual pressure, right? Mm-hmm. So there's a reason why a lot of these pro athletes are not on social media. So the pressure, the real pressure, as I described it, right, comes from internal in the people that are going to have a direct impact on your job. So that's your coaching staff, your general manager, whatever the case may be, right? So
yeah, family, throw family in there too.
Throw family in there. So that's actual pressure. But let's flip this on a little bit. This is kind of a mental sideshow, to put it to the least. Pressure is what you make of it. You know, and to go back to the player that you're talking about in there, he could be a very talented. In fact, we may look as the casual fan and go, there's no way in hell this player is going to be beaten out by these guys. But there's also that, you know, it's created internal pressure where it says, hey man, like, I'm not taking this for granted. You know, I like you said, I could have a bad camp. I could have a couple of turnovers at the wrong time, and I maybe never do that. And all of a sudden, you know, the people are making decisions are going, I don't know, man. I don't know if I can trust this guy in this kind of situation.
And first impressions in that environment are everything.
Huge, right?
Yeah.
So it's one of those deals where I had the opportunity to call that all-star prospects game a couple of years ago. Jack Pert was part of this, right?
Ooh.
And what was marketed was this was an NHL scouting combine, essentially for the best Minnesota high school hockey players, right? And talking to Gino Parrish, again, brother of Mark Parrish, he was my color that evening. And I asked him, you know, how does a player prepare for this type of game? And his exact response was, you can't you can't think about that. What you have to think about is what you can control, which is you go on the ice and you don't play any differently. You play to your strengths. You just go out there and play hockey. Everything else will take care of itself as long as you focus on that. But if you make the focus about the pressure situation, what other people think that they want to see, then you're forgetting about decisions on the ice or what to do with the puck next, or, you know, it's a domino effect, right? So pressure is both organic and it's also manufactured. And I think a lot of it from a fan's perspective is that's manufactured pressure. So let's go to Victor Rask, right? There's a whole lot of manufactured pressure on this guy. Number one, we know who this player is. And that's where, weirdly enough, the fans still want more than what they know he is. And it's funny because if you take a player like Victor Rask, we all know that most NHL rosters, either third at best, probably mostly a fourth line center, right? But as you mentioned pre-show, let's take a step back. He's still one of the best 300 or 400 hockey players in the world, right? If I won the ice with them, it would not be pretty. I would get schooled, right? So now on a team, a professional hockey team, where there are that many players better than him, it makes him look not as great. Here's the thing, though. You put him between Zuccarello and Kaprizov, yeah, he's not an offensive firehouse. He's more of that just, you know, I don't know if you're going to call it a boring center, but he's not that flashy type, but he plays okay. Like, he's usually pretty good with the puck, and for security, he gets in there. He can be gritty at times, pretty decent vision, at times as too. But, you know, yeah, does he miss things? Yeah. What player doesn't? That's the thing. But in a media thing where we can play armchair quarterback every minute of every game with the different broadcast angles with instant replay, we can sit there and pick apart a decision that a player is trying to think about 2 steps ahead. And we can sit back on our armchairs as, you know, the lazy peasants that we are, and say, oh, why did he do this? That's horrible. And then all of a sudden, pressure, right? So you make a mistake and it's amplified. Now there's pressure from the masses, right? So the thing about pressure is, it's what, to me, the only pressure that matters is the pressure you put on yourself and the pressure in the people that have a direct impact on that. Everything else, I don't care. I really don't care. At the end of it, can it be overwhelming even internally? Yeah. I think there are points, even I look back at some things I've done in my hockey career, also in the broadcasting career, where I probably put a little bit too much pressure on myself in certain situations. And that can be just as distracting is probably the best word as that. So, you know, we often see, and we talk about athletes as the physical part of the game, but really, even in goalies will attest to this, a lot of what it is on the ice or on the field or on the basketball court, a lot of it is right between here, right? It's about what can I do to focus on what's in front of me and not worry about anybody else. So again, for those, you know, and when you talk about the social media aspect, you know, I can see why players, even in the collegiate levels, they don't have those accounts, because it's very tempting to go around and look through those comments, and, you know, you don't want to have that energy distracting you from what's at hand. Because again, the only people that know best of what you're doing is in your coaches, Brett Larson, Dave Shayak, and Nick Oliver. That's the only people that matter. So
and you think about, there's not many jobs where one, you're fighting for your job every day and every mistake or what you do is scrutinized for you. Even if you worked for 25 years to get to that position, we mentioned a guy like Franz Nielsen, a guy who's had a pretty decent NHL career, was a great shootout specialist. It was a guy who just got his contract bought out. He's 37 years old. It's like he might be transitioning to that next piece there, and knew that he didn't play well last year. And now that pressure situation is moving him, in a different direction. The other piece of this too, I think about, when we go back to that, in 2015, I was at the CCM NIT tournament in Plymouth, right? Which is essentially, like where Team North Dakota, Team Minnesota, not the best of the best players that play like in Minnesota and places like that. They're off doing other camps, but some pretty decent players there. And it was a challenging 4 days of hockey. And of course you look up, Dave Haxtell, guys like that are up there. I don't know if it was Dave Haxtell or Brad Berry at that time. You got Bob Motzko up there, Don Lucia, Grant Patolny, you look up and they're all standing up there, they're scouting guys and that's what they're doing. And that's what they're there for the tournament. And I think about like, even that was a little tournament, after a high school season in which I had a good high school season and, made the team, but you had 3 weekends of tryouts that you had to go in. You had to be on your best every time during the tryout. Then you had to be on your best in the tournament. Then when you go up to the next level, when you play college, wherever it's ACHA, Division I, Division III, you've got to be on every night, NAHL, USHL. And people say, well, yeah, you're a hockey player. This is kind of what you're born to do. Just because you're a good hockey player doesn't mean that you execute on the ice. You know what I mean? Like, I've known so many guys that were great hockey players, but when it came down to quote unquote pressure situations, when the intensity got up, they were not guys that stuck around and made plays. And that's why you see great playoff heroes that, are depth guys that somehow elevate their game because they find a way to handle that pressure in a way that is productive to whatever they have going on. And I think my overall point here is I think we just need to kind of take a step back sometimes and evaluate that, let's take Joel Eriksson's contract or Alex Goligoski's contract for the Minnesota Wild. These guys are getting paid for their production and skill value, no doubt, but they're also getting paid, for example, a guy like Alex Goligoski, he's 35 years old, but he's a guy who consistently, like we mentioned, has had 6 consecutive 20-point seasons and close to 30-point seasons. He's a guy that has shown that he can handle that pressure. So I guess that's my overarching point, is that as we take a look at, for example, the Karil Capris situation, let's also understand that Kaprizov, he might end up making $9.5 million a year at some point in his life, just like Zach Parise made $7.5 million a year. But these guys all have pressure on them every day that you can't just look at them and say, oh, you make $7.5 a year, you should be able to handle this. You're getting paid that amount. You should be able to adjust to that. As we roll into the Kaprizov situation, can you kind of attest to that?
Well, even more so, I've also seen where it's like, well, he got his money. He doesn't have to care anymore. He's not going anywhere. He's got a no move clause. It's like, no.
And that's not what
we just saw.
Yeah.
We just saw that Suter and Parise were both bought out with 4 years left. The team is taking a significant financial hit on their cap hit for starting, essentially this year, but even more so years 2, 3, and 4. They thought that was better than having you on their roster. Let's just think about that for a second. There's nothing guaranteed in pro sports.
Yep.
You mentioned Sidney Crosby, Connor McDavid, just because let's even throw Austin Matthews in there, right? Because of the amount of money he's making, right? If you strictly look at it from a financial standpoint, that means absolutely nothing, right? Because it's like, oh, he's got his money, now he doesn't have to care. The only time he's going to care is in the contract year. No, we've seen it where these players get ousted because they're not playing to what the money, you have to play to the value of your dollar. There's pressure on these guys all the time.
And that dollar amount for those 3 players you mentioned is like, I feel like I need to carry this franchise type money,
and don't think, Jack Eichel, right? Let's look at Jack Eichel. Yeah. More, a lot of it is internal stuff, but let's just say a team trades for him. He's getting paid $10 million a season. Don't think that if a team doesn't think that he's been playing up to that value, he gets traded again. It's just, that's the way it happens. You have to play up to what your expectation is. And it's even more so elevated now because, again, how many teams with the way the NHL's flat cap is are up against the cap? Every dollar matters to these squads. So if you do not, even those higher players don't add up they're saying, you know what, I may have some dead cap here, but I don't care. I need to open up my space for other players that could get more value out of them, and maybe multiple players versus one, right? So it's a unique situation that's here.
Yeah. Speaking of value, Mr. Max says we've got about 6 or 7 minutes left in the regular show. One guy that apparently the contract is supposed to apparently come to a head in the next week and a half or so. That is Karil Capris, number 97 for the Minnesota Wild. Can you kind of walk us through a little bit about the gigantic under the table / not under the table, but actually under the table offer that he's gotten in the KHL? And what does this September 1st deadline mean? Will we see number 97 finally come to a resolution in his contract? Or, I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
First of all, it's not a deadline. That is when Karil Kaprizov could sign with the KHL. There's two things about this. You have to understand too, that just because somebody throws you an offer sheet doesn't mean that you want to sign it. That's the one thing that is being kind of, convoluted into one, when reality, we haven't really heard that from his agent. We have heard that, he could sign here, but we've not heard from Karil himself, especially one, or two, that he will sign here. I think it's part of the bluff. I think it's part of the negotiation tactics that this agent has been historically made over the course of his career. Just ask Michael Russo and read his latest Athletic. This is, in fact, it sounds like Michael Russo even called out this agent even back in June this last summer, because the mantra that this agent was trying to play with Russo was the team needs to understand how serious this is. And then you kind of read between the lines, goes, they're trying to use me, the Athletic, as a pawn to write something so that the Wild would jump or overcorrect or do something, right? So
yeah, it's similar to, he's actually the same agent for Artemi Panarin, and that's kind of how Artemi got his big payday. As you roll into your answer here, Nick, can you also touch on the fact that a lot of people had an uproar that Bill Guerin was saying, it doesn't bother me one bit, and people are saying, oh, it totally does bother him. I don't think it does, because
let me ask the question. These fans are getting on the guy that anybody in the entire world knows what the hell is going on versus anybody else.
There's three guys that know. Three.
And is there some and so let's break this down a little bit. Is there probably some posturing here by Bill Guerin? Maybe a little bit. Absolutely. You talk about the agent having his, mantra, having, sort of this big brawny hardball type thing. I think Bill Guerin's playing hardball right back. And the way he's doing it is, I'm not scared by your tactics. I think it's a brilliant response. And honestly, I do think with Kaprizov, knowing what I know behind the scenes, I feel like, again, a lot of people also, speaking of, convoluted situations, they're making the mistake of thinking that this is what Kaprizov wants, and what the agent is showing is a direct reflection of Kaprizov. I don't see it that way. Now, to Russo's point, and he had this on his latest podcast, I do think it is rubbing the fan base the wrong way, and it is absolutely rubbing the organization the wrong way. There's no question about that with this agent change, because at some point, and Russo made, I think, a really good point, was at some point, if you really want this end, Kaprizov himself has to maybe get up off his chair and take over this. I don't really know. And this is the part with maybe a culture difference, that maybe Kaprizov just doesn't understand the way that his agent is handling this. There's more to it than just the contract. There is the impression he's giving about himself as a hockey player. It's not just about dollars and cents, right? So I think there is something to be said there, but I really don't think I can sit here in good faith, make the argument that Kaprizov, this is exactly how he wants us to go. Again, it's been well recorded. This is how his agent has done negotiations in the past. So I really do think it's more of a reflection there on the agent than it is on Kaprizov. However, let's go back to the actual answer of the deadline, right? There is no deadline. That just means, hey, you can sign here because the KHL season starts mid-September. They get off to an early start, right? Yeah. So at the end of it, I think, again, they're trying to put an end date to it. Now, if Guerin is smart, to me, this is what I think is going to happen. I think it's going to go past September 1. I really do think. And I think for Guerin's side, I think you've kind of seen this at different pieces. Late this last week, he said, talks are increasing, or they're getting towards a resolution. So he's playing the game as, hey, we're getting closer, even though, heck, behind the scenes, there may already be a tentative deal in place. And again, agent maybe continues to try to chip away and get more at it. We just don't know. But for fans, it makes me laugh, honestly. Fans who think they're like, oh, we shouldn't be reacting this way. No, you got to look at it. This is a negotiation. That means there's the public presence, and there's a lot that happens behind closed doors And the funny thing is this could be completely cordial and be like, hey man, can we shoot at this, shoot at that? And again, it's going to be, it's like that. It's a one-on-one shootout, right? It's like who moves first. It's the goaltender versus the shooter.
Yeah.
That's where this negotiation has been the entire time.
And you think about the piece, we talk so much about the Chuck Fletcher era. One of the things that, Karil Capris, a fantastic hockey player, but you have to like how Bill Guerin is taking a stance here, because Chuck Fletcher in some respects was kind of a pushover when it comes to that kind of thing, where it's like, you are playing hardball with a guy in this position who might be your franchise player moving forward potentially. I think that's important to kind of say, you know what, you can play here. We want you here, but this is the standard that you're going to set. The other piece of this is I'm going to
jump in real quick.
Well, hold on. Just because of the fact that, like, I think it's funny how the same fans who say, how did they offer a guy who only played 55 games, $9.5 million, then say, why don't they pay the man for the short-term contract that you want? You are answering your own question when it comes to that there. Do you know why they offered that man $9 million or $8 million for having only played 55 games? Because I don't care who you are in the National Hockey League. Yeah, I mean, there's always risk. But when you and I and almost every NHL scout and executive watch Karil Capris play, even if they're playing what they call quote unquote fluff ball teams like Anaheim, which doesn't mean anything because anybody who scores 100 points in the National Hockey League plays good teams and bad teams and produces against them all. The reason they're offering him $8.5 million is because he's a freaking good hockey player, potentially a franchise hockey player, and has this otherworldly offensive prowess that you can't teach and you can't really develop. And that's just what he is. So for people that go both ways on that, you're answering your own question. And I want to put that out there. So, and
here's the, for people who are criticizing Bill Guerin playing hardball, again, it's a reciprocating thing. Kaprizov could have signed with Minnesota in 2015 and came right over. He chose to wait 5 years to get here. Let's think about it from the team's perspective. You draft him in the fifth round. So what, 135th overall, I think is what it was.
Shall we look?
We shall look while I continue this explanation. But, he slid down. Everybody knew that, he had the skill set. But again, this is the headache that with Russian players that a lot of NHL GMs have avoided is precisely this is, do these players ever make it? Do they ever come over? I see your nod in your head. Was I right?
135.
Got it. Okay. But look at this. So you wait 5 years and now all of a sudden after 55 games, you're demanding just a 3-year contract. Pardon my French, with BS, right? No. And I can guarantee you part of that hardball stance is I can wait as long as you can. I don't give a damn. Like, honestly, you've waited all this time to come here. You sign at 24 years of age. He's going to be 25 here coming up this next April or March. I forget exactly when, or February.
And you can understand where Kaprizov is coming from because a 3-year deal puts him at about 28, which is usually when guys get their big payday that pushes them through. Yeah.
So, but as Russo pointed out, this is Kaprizov's own damn fault. You could have signed your ELC. You've left a lot of money on the table. And this is when you decide to come over. And now you're trying to walk yourself and say, I deserve that same thing after only 55 games. The team is going, not my damn fault. Like, we wanted you this entire time. And you said, no, I don't want to come over. So I think it's absolutely critical that Bill Guerin does take a stand here. Mm-hmm. Because again, you wait this long. You finally get him in. We've all known his skill set and his prowess. It's been on the international stage. It's shown in the KHL, now the NHL. You want to make sure that you are getting essentially value, and more so you're getting games played out of the prospect. You were patient and probably to not to kill Chuck Fletcher, but a little bit, probably too patient. I wish there was a little bit more of a stab across the Pacific Ocean and be like, hey man, you need to get your butt over here. Like, because and
the other side of the argument now though is thankfully is he is an NHL ready player and then some, being 23.
Here's the thing, he has been. That's the thing is, I really wish that there was somebody in the Wild organization. And again, maybe there was, some shots fired across the oceans that we never heard about and say, if you came over here, or by not coming over here, you're leaving money on the table. Right. But I know that, again, these sort of negotiations and, these talks are, especially with a player that has kind of made it from the onset when he was young that he wanted to play there for a little bit. that's a shot in the dark that also may have backfired. So I don't know. But here we are, right? So my prediction is it goes past September 1. I think the fans are going to again roll themselves into a hell raising fire over this. And there's going to be the temperature gauge turned up by either side. I think you're going to see some more, I guess, pinpointed verbalizations from the agent as we get closer to September 1. I still think you're going to see Bill Guerin acting cool as calm. And this is going to continue on. And my big thing is get him signed before training camp. That's all I hear about. If I don't want a William Nylander situation where you're going all the way to December 15th, I believe is the date that you can actually wait until, because then you're losing in half a season. Again, the fan base is rubbed the wrong way, all this other jazz. And you're talking about him missing half a season where he missed 4 or 5 years of his productivity while I was over there in Russia. And
that's where you talk about who's going to call each other's bluff. It might come down to the 11th hour. For me, the 11th hour, I think, is going to be somewhere around Labor Day weekend, before September 10th, I think, is kind of my 2 cents on it. The first couple of weeks maybe is September, and I think that's kind of where we're going to see it finally all come together. But while we wait, we get to watch training videos of him running in the mud in the rain with carrying a giant tire, which is kind of
very Russian.
Yeah, very, very, very Russian. But speaking of things slogging through the mud, Nick, we're going to hop over to our extra ice session and the Arizona Coyotes, who are in a bit of a messy situation themselves, if you will. And welcome into the extra ice session. I'm Noah Grant, joined alongside my co-host, Nick. Do you want to introduce yourself?
You don't remember my name? Yeah. Hi, I'm Nick Maxon. Hi. Well, we're here to talk about the Arizona Coyotes, maybe the Kansas City Coyotes or the Houston Coyotes. I don't know. Big news actually out of the city of Glendale. So Noah, what I'll do is I'll kind of introduce the topic here and I'll kind of let you have first jabs at this. Essentially what happened this week is the city of Glendale, where the Coyotes and the city, which owns Gila River Arena, and they themselves are negotiating what appeared to be a year-to-year contract based for the last couple of years now, right? Coyotes are in debt to the rent. Coyotes and the city want to make improvements to Gila River Arena. And effectively, the city of Glendale said, because I think it's over $1 million that they owe the city of Glendale for their rents and some other fees. It's something it's like
1.7. Yeah, something like that.
I think it's like 1.4 million. Yeah. Either way, it's a lot of money, right? And the city said, I'm done with this. I'm terminating the negotiations. I'm terminating the contract. We will not be talking about this. And this is after this upcoming season, which means as of right now, the Coyotes do not have a home for the 2022-2023 season. Now, after this, NHL Commissioner Bettman, it took a couple of days, and said the future of the Coyotes are in Arizona. And he did make, I think, a very pointed line that says, I hope the city of Glendale continues in their discussions. So almost right away, Noah, Gary Bettman is calling a bluff, is what it sounds like. Mm-hmm. Number 3, or I should say number 2 for those who can count. It sounds like the Coyotes have angered the city of Glendale. This is kind of where I think the city of Glendale is more hurt over this than anything. It sounds like the Coyotes have been having under the table discussions with the city of Tempe to move the franchise there, which would be more close to the Phoenix area, very, very close to the airport. And you're looking at this area that Tempe wants to develop. Is just northwest of Arizona State University. It's actually right on the river there. And I've actually seen some pictures of this. It actually looks like a very gorgeous site where it's a 47-acre plot that they want to develop. And it sounds like there's some heavy interest in that site from the Coyotes perspective. And I think the city of Glendale, they caught wind of this. They caught it when it's actually through Katie Strain, of course, who's been doing an excellent job with the Athletic, both on the Arizona Coyotes situation. Well, of course, 6 months ago, a lot of the rumblings of the upper exec offices there in Arizona, as well as some other hockey-related things, including stuff that go on the Chicago Blackhawks. But here we are. City of Glendale is putting a foot in the sand and saying, we're done with you. It sounds like, from what I gather, city is like, well, if you're done with me, I'm done with you, is kind of what I gather. But I kind of want to get your initial reaction, Noah, the city of Glendale, their actions, and what do you think this means for the Coyotes moving forward?
Well, first of all, I wanted to go back to the comment about Gary Bettman. And I know Gary, this is kind of his reaction to a lot of these things where he hopes that a resolution can be made. I think this is a little bit of Gary kind of feeling out that process and saying, I hope a resolution can be made, and seeing if the city of Glendale kind of circles back, or if they're like, we're done. It's over. This is legit. We're done. We're done. This could be potentially the best or the worst thing that happens to the Arizona Coyotes. When you talked about the location, finding a new arena within the span of a year and change, like, you don't just build arenas in that time and get new plans. They're going to be in an interesting position here. Now, with that being said, when you talked about, the proximal location to Arizona State University, and talking about the great things that ASU has done, especially with their independent hockey program as well, similar to what the Vegas Golden Knights do with UNLV and places like that, there is a really great potential opportunity, maybe not right away, but in the future, as you move through there, having that opportunity. And the reason that this might also be a good move is that from the reports that I have read, they said that Gila River Arena, which again, like you mentioned, is owned by the city. It has nothing to do with the Coyotes per se. They just host the Coyotes and have executive offices there. If Gila River Arena sells, I think it was 43 concerts at half capacity throughout the course of a calendar year, they will make more than if the Coyotes were there originally. So if they have 43 concerts, more of those concerts only at half capacity, which for those who are doing math is 21 and a half full concerts, I guess, they will make more money than when the Coyotes are there now. There's also been noted that there's travel issues into the city of Glendale. They thought that it should probably be closer into Scottsdale if they should have done it the first time. So maybe this is actually the move that, even though the Coyotes still owe almost $1.5 million to the city of Glendale, this could be the resurrection move that maybe does actually benefit the Arizona Coyotes franchise as they move forward. It's going to be a rocky, tumultuous road to get to that point. What are they going to do in the next couple of years? I don't know. But this could be the saving grace, or this could be the straw that breaks the camel's back. And in 5 years' time, there is not a team in Arizona.
And that's the other side of the coin that I think we have to touch on, Noe, is a lot of fans, and we kind of saw this happen, was, when the expansion of Seattle was announced, they said it very near afterwards that Arizona would be moving to the Central Division. Oh boy. So it was almost like, there's a backup plan here, right? I mean, there's no question that the problems between the Arizona Coyotes and the city of Glendale have been very well documented. It goes back pretty much to the beginning of the Stone Tablet age. It's just, it's crazy. Yep. And as you said, could this be a benefit? This is also going to be really, really bad. Yeah. On Arizona, the franchise, like franchise
going back to Winnipeg, bad.
It's not going back to Winnipeg.
Yeah, yes. Obviously.
And for those who want it in Quebec City, ain't going to happen. Nope. So, but with that being said, the two, if the team is relocating, right, which I really don't think the NHL wants to have happen. But as you said, if the Coyotes are in talks with Tempe, and let's just say that that's actually got some traction to it, even if you broke ground today, you're not playing that building until probably 2024 at the earliest, right? Yep. Those big arenas take at least 2 or 3 years to build. If you've got 1 year, that means you got to find 2 years to find a stadium to play, right? Now, you don't just move a franchise to Kansas City or Houston for 2 years to have them move back. That's not how this works. And there has been talks in recent years of the owner of the Houston Rockets buying the Arizona, or having interest. The NHL, I know, has had interest in Houston. Kansas City has an arena that's ready to go. And I'll be darned, it's in the Central Division and even geographically, right? So I don't know, but
and I got a question for NCHC fans. Can you throw Omaha in the mix there? I believe their arena is 17,500, if I'm not mistaken. The old arena, yeah.
The arena, yes. The problem is the economics in Omaha do not support enough for that franchise. So it's not just about the barn. That's the thing that Quebec City gets wrong. You can have a state-of-the-art arena, but however, the surrounding economic situation is part of that analysis for any pro hockey team. Is a lot of money and a lot of support that's got to be there to support it. Those two cities just don't have it. Houston does. Kansas City, I think, does as well. I think they've got enough there to warrant enough of the economic impact that a franchise would need to survive. However, since you mentioned college hockey, to me, I think, and I know the NHL, and if you want hockey to grow, it needs to stay in Arizona. It just has to. And so I'm actually rooting for Arizona to come to a resolution, either with the city of Glendale. And let's say this. Let's just say that this city of Glendale is done. Let's just say they're truly like, we're done. And the Coyotes go, you know what? Here's the deal. We're going to build something in Tempe.
Yeah.
But we need somewhere to play. Give us 2 more years.
Yep. Up
front, if you agree this, here's your $1.4 million or whatever the case may be. We'll pay that off. Give us those 2 years. We'll build this thing, and then we're the HE double hockey sticks out of here. Yep. To me, that's probably the best case scenario. And here's the funny thing, and I kind of laughed at the city of Glendale thinking about 43 concerts is a lot to schedule. And half capacity, but how many acts? I mean, I even think about to Minneapolis, right? How many musical acts? And mind you, Minneapolis has been compared to in the past as like a New York City 2.0, just much smaller in terms of the arts and everything else. We don't have 43 concerts that hit a single of our stadiums. So that makes me laugh a little bit to think that Gila River Arena could do half capacity. And mind you, that's still at least 10,000 fans. But how are you going to attract 43 concert venues to Glendale, Arizona to support that cause? I don't know. I think it's a little bit much to ask if you're asking me. So I think there's still a little bit of, you talk about Kaprizov agents going on the fluff. I think there's some fluff here also from the city of Glendale, because at the end of it, the tail end of this is that the arena needs millions and millions of dollars of upgrades. It is absolutely due. It's over 20 years old. And it's going to be one of those deals where I think that they've been in talks about this. Like, okay, yeah, this arena needs that. Oh, you are going to pay for that. No, Coyotes, no, you're going to pay for that. I just think, again, with the amount of money that's owed, and at the end of the day, the way that the city of Glendale has made this lease here or there, the Coyotes would be better off financially getting their own building, or at least having a 20-year lease minimum. Just like the Wildlife, I think I know a 20-year extension with the Xcel Energy Center. And it's not owned by the city, if it was a state thing, a local, like, again, there's bonds that the Wild took out again against the taxpayers in Minnesota to help pay for that. Same way with the Minnesota Viking Stadium, US Bank Stadium. That's not the same with the city of Glendale. So there's no real financial like security involved there. I actually kind of hope, like you said, that this just goes by the wayside. I think for both sides. And to be fair, in my opinion, laugh at the city of Glendale, because they're going to lose out on this. If they go as about this, there's no way in hell you're attracting 43 concerts in that amount of time, even at half capacity. That's asking a lot for one arena. Essentially, they just want them out. And honestly, it'd be the best divorce to me for both the league, the team, and for the city.
So my question to you is this: it's a 3-parter. We love those, right? What
Sure.
is your percentage that they stay in Glendale for a couple of years and then move on? What is your percentage that they move on directly but stay in Arizona? And what is your percentage, I guess, that they don't stay in Arizona? And if they don't, where do they go?
I think it's all evenly split, 33%. And here's why I say that. So, yeah, Glendale took a hard stance, but you know that that's what has been said publicly. You know, we talked about us not knowing a damn thing. Mm-hmm. I don't think that the negotiations are that abrasive behind closed doors. I really don't. This to me is a negotiating tactic, because if the city was smart, they'd want a long-term lease, right? But the problem is, again, the Coyotes had been financially hard strapped. That's
especially
been well
with
documented,
COVID. Yeah.
Especially with COVID. So, and to me, again, there's so many factors that make that location, that arena, not a great destination for a pro sports team or for the residents of, the Glendale and the surrounding areas. So I do think that there's a conversation to be had where, to me, the most likely scenario is 2 things. I really don't think this team is moving in the next 5 years. I just don't see it. I could be wrong. We've had this. We thought the Minnesota North Stars were never going to move. No, I'm green. Thank you. But
yeah, because that worked out well, right?
Yeah, it did. But that was an ownership change that precipitated and was very vocal about getting the hell out of Minnesota. That was there from day one. I don't hear that from Alex Miruello. From his, I know that they're committed to the state of Arizona. I know that the league is also committed to the state of Arizona. I think the most likely scenario is you find a way to get a deal done with Glendale that's either 20 plus years with renovations included and money up front to get out of debt, or two, the city of Tempe and Arizona come up with a new entertainment district plan, which has already been in talks for the last 2 years from what's been reported by The Athletic. And they are able to extend it until that arena is built, and then you wash your hands, it's done, and both can go their merry separate ways.
So what you're saying is between those two combined, a 66% chance you think that they stay in Arizona in some way, somewhere. So in the theoretical world where you're wrong completely, which that's never happens ever.
Right.
So the other 33%, they're at some point they're out of Arizona. Who takes them? Where do they go?
Kansas City or Houston. It's the only two right now. That again, that people think that the divisions in Seattle was not about imbalance. It was 100% about imbalance. So now you have 8 in each division. They're not going anywhere out east because you're not going to push back Columbus back to the central, to the west. Neither does Detroit, because a big reason why those franchises move all east because of travel, right? So to me, you have owners and an arena in Houston, again, former AHL team, the Houston Aeros, for a Minnesota Wild affiliate, for those who are watching. You have an arena that's already built, that's ready to handle hockey. Do the ownership themselves keep the team and just move it, or do they sell it off? That's an option. Kansas City has been this sort of like low key where they've had pro hockey before. It's been a while. Is there a market there? I don't know. But again, everything goes through Gary Bettman. And we know that when he bets on these franchises, especially when he bet on Florida originally, then Tampa, Arizona, then the 3 California teams, which used to be known, by the way, now that only goes Murderers Row. LA, San Jose, and Anaheim used to be 3 very, very good hockey teams. And that used to be an absolute killer of a road trip for any team going through that area. So, and to me, for the game of hockey, Arizona is such an important cornerstone in the desert. Now they got Vegas and how successful they've been. This is going to grow not only, you talk about Arizona State, grow the college game. It's going to grow so many other opportunities. I think the NHL needs it to stay in Arizona. So I really do think the chances are greater than not of them staying there in the desert state of Arizona.
So between Houston and Kansas City, is there one that you prefer more? I'm going to throw an oddball out there. It's definitely an oddball, but I just want to hear your opinion on it because they just lost their franchise not too long ago. What about Quad City, Illinois and Iowa? They have a rink there. It's about 12,000 people. Kind of smack dab in the middle of there. You don't think so? No, just a thought. I mean, just a thought.
It's I think the bigger, if you talk about odd ones, the only other smaller city, and mind you, Quad Cities, I get the area is populated. They've got junior hockey there. But again, the economic situation there, I don't think can handle it. What about Milwaukee? I think Milwaukee would be, it's sort of that dark horse, small market thing. But again, Milwaukee has its own issues with their economics as well, despite the Bucks just won a championship. And I think Milwaukee being a northern state would be great for hockey fans. I would.
And is Milwaukee, you're picking Milwaukee over Madison, Green Bay, obviously.
100%. 100%. Because Milwaukee's the biggest city by population wise there. But still, I don't think that there's enough of a supporting cast there outside of the hockey world that would make it happen. Houston, population, they've got money, that's there. Kansas City, same thing. To me, those two are the top two. Again, they're in the same region. There's no way in my eyes that there's other cities beyond those two that actually qualify to host an NHL franchise at this current moment in time.
Yeah. So KC, obviously, for those who don't know, we're talking about Kansas City, Missouri, where the Royals are and stuff. So would you rather see 2 teams in Missouri or 2 teams in Texas? Which one's your vote if you had to?
Oof, this is tough. Honestly, I thought about this, as this the story was kind of developing. I thought, okay, I still don't think they move, but if they did, right, it's no question between these 2 cities. Honestly, I would like to see Kansas City.
Same. Yep.
I like to see Kansas City. I think, don't get me wrong, Dallas has been a great franchise for them, but I think, when I talk about Texas, I just know if Houston has the fan base there for hockey just yet. I know Dallas has really grown, especially like the Little League and the junior hockey system. They've done a fantastic job. I just think that why not put it back to a market that doesn't have it, that has sports franchises? You got the Chiefs, you got the Royals. Why not put hockey there to continue to grow the game and for the NHL thing, a market that would be new to them, but also is kind of growing in terms of, the hockey world too. So
I
know see Kansas City.
And I know so many people that Like my cousins live in Kansas City, and I know so many, and they went to school at Mizzou, and Mizzou, of course, is closer to St. Louis than it is to Kansas City. And I know that so many people that are in Missouri, they're big Blues fans. And you look at the success of the Blues franchise. You also look at the success of the Blues, their AAA programs, their junior programs, everything that they've done in that community. You know, you're continuing to flourish hockey, especially in kind of not really the Midwest, but like the middle of the United States, if you will. And yeah, I think that would be a good fit. Kansas City, for those who did not know, they actually have had a couple of NHL franchises before, actually way back, the New Jersey Devils organization way back in the day. I think it was the Kansas City Mavericks. Does that sounds
right? Yeah, that sounds right.
I could be totally wrong. Their logo was less than culturally appropriate for today's day and age, but nonetheless, that was back in the 70s. As well. But yeah, I think Kansas City would be the bet. But honestly, I honestly would not mind seeing within 5 years time, seeing Arizona kind of move over towards ASU. I love the idea that an independent, probably arguably the most successful independent program that we have in college hockey right now. I would say by a mile, and that's no offense to anybody else. I know that Alabama Huntsville hopefully is on their way up with hopefully finding a new league and getting the money that they've gotten there. But ASU, with the facilities that they've had to support themselves, continuing to grow that by keeping a team in Arizona, but also involving a really good Division I program and an area that, you have a player like Austin Matthews continues to hopefully grow and harness that hockey energy, if you will. I wouldn't mind seeing them moving over to Tempe in a couple of years too.
And let's not forget too, I think it was like 4 or 5 years ago, there was a joint project with the Coyotes and the Arizona State that could have shared arena facilities. Arizona State, I believe, is going to open up their new arena this fall down there in Tempe. And so they've been kind of linked together for some time here. In fact, there was some drawings about this plan for ASU and the Coyotes to kind of share facilities or, kind of be a combined thing. So it seems to be that relationship has kind of been there, which is obviously a really good thing. But I would like to again see that kind of flourish. And even though they wouldn't be necessarily sharing facilities, but being within 5 minutes of each other there, a couple of miles. So if you guys look at the site, it's an old compost site west of a river park. It looks gorgeous, and there's a lot of potential there. But again, right next to the campus, there's a younger market you can tap into for new fans and to really grow hockey there. And not only that, but could you imagine the Coyotes and their fan base going, "Hey, there's a college hockey game too. Let's go see a game over there." So I think it would be beneficial for both sides if it did happen. And honestly, for the city of Glendale, they said, "Hey, we're already better off without you." They've already kind of said that already in public. Well, that's true or not is yet to be seen. I think there's a less of that truth that's behind closed doors. But for me, I think, again, we talked about before, that's the best case scenario, is to get the Coyotes out of Glendale, get into Tempe. That's a 5-minute drive away from the airport. So the travel will be a little bit better for the fans in the greater Phoenix area, a much easier access to get it. And just, to me, it's a better overall situation for both. Everybody gets involved, honestly.
Let's say when you've been on 1-year leases with the city of Glendale for a while, I think that kind of speaks to where maybe the direction was heading anyway. But Nick, didn't you hear, man? North Dakota's getting the Arizona Coyotes, man. They're going to Grand Forks. Come on.
Are they? That's funny.
Yeah. I've had at least 3 people that I know that I play hockey with here that have been like, yeah, well, they should come to Grand Forks. I'm like, No. Now,
and you made an interesting point. I just want to quickly do this because you mentioned about holy cow, my brain's kicking in, the lease thing, right?
Yeah.
I think that's kind of where the Arizona Coyotes thought, their writing's on the wall here at some point. Mm-hmm. And I do really think that's what, kind of sparked the origination of talks with Tempe. It's like, I think they knew that at some point this was going to happen, and they were already looking at their exit plan. So to me, I think that is correlated 100%. And you're absolutely right about that. It doesn't take anybody, I think, very much brain power unless you're me, because my brain's just not functioning.
Mine hurts really bad.
I know, right? So to figure out that, there was some language, there was some things that were happening that were pointing in this direction. And I still don't think this is a one-all be-all situation just yet with the city, but I do think it's like, it could be as a cry, like, okay, we really need to sit down and figure this out. It's very possible that's what this is and what it comes to. But again, I think there's better options out there for everybody involved, and we'll just have to see where it goes.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Speaking of seeing where things go, Nick, I think we're going to try to get a guest this week. It's been an interesting summer for us. I got to be honest though, I really enjoyed the break. But now we're back into the school year, and hopefully with a guest to boot for episode number 75. And as always, we're going to have episode number 76 coming to you next Sunday as well. Thank you so much once again to all of our listeners and YouTube watchers, but especially, of course, our listeners. 10,000 audio downloads, listens, plays, whatever the heck you want to call them. We are very, very appreciative and never thought that we would even get to this point. So it's amazing the run that we've been on, and we hopefully look to continue that as we move forward. Mr. Maxon, do you have anything else to add for episode number 75 here?
For the Huskies who are freshmen, welcome into the den. Go Huskies, woo! As you know, that's how you say it.
Does that have a hashtag in front of it?
It's supposed to, but anyway. So at the arena, they don't say hashtag. Anyway, welcome to campus again. Your St. Cloutier men's and women's hockey programs, a lot of entertainment. Mind you, again, for students who are current students, all you need to show is your ID card. You are getting into the building for free. Let's pack the dog pound this year. Both these teams are going to be fun to watch. It's great weekend entertainment that's, again, cheap. You don't have to pay for a darn thing. So, again, come on down, and we're happy to have you along with the ride. So go Huskies, woo. Let's go. St. Cloud.
Yeah,
also for 2021.
It'll be good for us non-college fans as well too, or those not in the area. Also, don't forget single game and weekend ticket sales go live September 1st as well too. So for those of you looking to scarf up the rest of those tickets, we got a really, really good lineup coming into the Herb Brooks National Hockey Center this year. So
also, there are rumors since, as you know, in years past, St. Cloud has used essentially a Canadian university to do like a two-night game before the non-conference schedule. Yep. I'm hearing rumblings that there could be a red versus black scrimmage instead of the weekend prior. I'll keep you folks posted if that indeed comes to fruition and waiting a confirmation coming. That's from a source within the athletic department. So again, it's being thought of. I'm not sure if this will be a public event. I imagine it would be, but if it does come to fruition, we'll make sure we let you folks know.
I've got my money on the team with St. Cloud State on their shells and breezers and pants.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. Anyway, I got my money on the team with the players. Anyway, that will do it for episode number 75, and we'll see you next week in the den.
One-timer coming, they score! Ripped in! A bomb from
Dana Rasmussen fires and she scores! Dana Rasmussen for the Huskies
Karil Capris in for a chance to win it. He scores! Karil, the thrill is for real. Welcome to the NHL, a game winner.
St. Cloud Cathedral is now 42.6 seconds away from wrapping up the school's first ever title.